Good morning, world. This is the Young Man Nuke, and you are listening to FRESHH Radio, where I bring you family, revolution, edutainment, spirituality, health, and hip-hop all in one show. And this morning, I was blessed with the presence of Miss Leonie Mattison, and she's fresh off the highway. You know, I like those highway chronicles and those interstate tales. But she's fresh off the highway to share with us her book, The Thread, and also she's going to share with us some other interesting tidbits from her life and give us a little bit of motivation for this morning. Miss Leonie, are you out there?
I am right here with you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, we've talked for a little bit, and I know a little bit about you. But
Wait, hold up. I got to say this. Before you go further, wait, let me do that again, because this is not how I say it. When I say good morning to the world, this is how I say it. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. That's my good morning.
You know what? That energy is definitely needed into the world. So, yeah, no, I appreciate it. It definitely brightened my eyes, I can tell you that. So, that being the case, tell the people a little bit more about yourself and show them how bright you are more so than the morning.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Dr. Leonie Mattison, and I am a single mother, a daughter, a sister, an organizational and talent development practitioner, speaker, and women's mentor. But first and foremost, a survivor of sexual, emotional, and spiritual abuse, as well as severe bouts of Bell's palsy and a stroke near-death experience, all before my 40th birthday. But I have to say, top of the list, through it all, God has been there for me, and I'm here today still learning, evolving, and expanding as a devoted Christian.
That is beautiful, and I want to commend you for coming to this point in your life to be able to share your experience and your story with not only my audience but the world and everyone that you touch. So, no, that's a commendable feat for you. With so much that you have to offer for us, I want to just jump right into some questions and just ask, what do you feel are some of the accomplishments that you are most proud of? I mean, obviously you're a doctor, but what are you most proud of?
I'm going to give you three of them. Three accomplishments I'm most proud of are, number one, the greatest achievement is my personal transformation through a personal and close relationship with God. And my children, who's been the thread that pulls me up so I can keep pushing them forward to become the women God created them to be. I have three girls, 21, 16, and 12. Then the second, the release of my first book, The Thread, to empower women, all of these, courageous female survivors around the globe, to free themselves from the pain, guilt, and shame of abuse. Along with the book, I've created this 6-step system to help them live freedom, and it's almost like a supporting tool to help them to live in freedom and happiness from abuse, and the book is scheduled to release in November this year. The third, I would say, my professional achievement of being last year. So now you're going to know how old I am. So last year, in 2018, I was awarded the 2018 18th Annual Pacific Coast Business Times 40 Under 40 Award, which recognized the 40 best and brightest transformational leaders under the age of 40 years old on the Central Coast. So those are the top three things that come to mind when I think about my accomplishments.
That is awesome. Those are awesome accomplishments, all three of those. And even the other miniature accomplishments in between all of those, 3 daughters. I got 5 children myself, and, those are having children are blessings on top of accomplishments, especially when you can raise them to the point where they can become self-sufficient. So awesome accomplishments, awesome. What urged you to write the book, The Thread? What urged you to become an author?
What urged me to become an author? I grew up in Jamaica, on the beautiful island of Jamaica in the Caribbean. That was where I was born, and then I later immigrated to the U.S., to New York. But I was poor. I was as poor as it possibly could be in the Caribbean, and at one point had experienced being homeless. My mother was a single mother as well, with odd jobs, living in between different family members and strangers. She struggled to make ends meet. But still, my mother did something that, two great things my mother has done for us. I mean, three. She gave birth to me. And then she introduced me to Jesus, to my faith. And she was a maid at one point in the Caribbean, and on the island of Cayman Island. And she would bring us books. She would bring us books to read, and she would actually literally make sure that we were reading these books. So she would quiz us. I don't think now that in hindsight, I'm like, my mom really didn't know what she was asking us, but she wanted to make sure that we were reading the books that she brought home. And so what I would do, as I was reading those books, believe it or not, from an early age, I love stories. I love the way the words flow and the imagery that it created for me. And so unfortunately, after I survived the soul-crushing events of abuse and 2 diseases, while I was going through the process, I started documenting some things, but I didn't take it very seriously. But I would record myself, how I was feeling. I would jot down my notes in my journal. And I remember I always used to say, I'm going to survive this. I'm going to rise from this. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I kept saying, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. And so I kept sharing my story with people, strangers and friends, and they kept saying, you need to put this in a book. And I'm like, I'm not an author. I did not go to school to become an author. But here's the thing. I met me as an author during my pain, during my struggles, during my illnesses. I met the author in me. And so I started writing. I just started writing. And as I began to write, I realized that there was an audience out there, because as I shared my story, people were sharing their stories with me, and I started to meet my people group. That's how it all began.
You know what? It's interesting that you even, that origin story I was having. Believe it or not, me and my mom, we met up for just randomly. I called her. She said, I asked her where she was. She was right around the corner from where I was. So I met her up. I washed her car, and I said, let's go get something to eat. And during the conversation, we were sitting there eating. She says, you know what? I think I should write a book. And I said, you know what? You should. I encourage you to write a book. And I said, the best thing that you should do is don't even tackle it from the perspective of writing a book. I said, just sit down and just start typing up everything that you want to talk about and just let it flow. Don't worry about paragraphs. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about spelling. Just get it all out, whatever you feel that you want to talk about in your project. And I said, I'll help you put it together. And, that sparked her in her mind that, this is possible. And just listening to your story, it took other people to believe in and start feeding you back to say, possible before you believed it was possible, because you even said it yourself. Absolutely. I'm not an author. So other people had to want to see. Yep. So that is I just wanted to pour that particular thing I brought out from your story. So it's an amazing journey. I believe, and I wish we had a lot more time to get into the depths of your journey, but I do want to talk more about your book. So The Thread, how did the concept of the thread come about?
So as I was recovering from all of the soul crushing life experiences I encountered, and these are the experiences that others placed upon me. A lot of it. As I was recovering from these painful events, I developed this close relationship with God and discovered my own personal gifts and power within to achieve healing and navigate my life's purpose. And so as I was thinking about, the abuse, the sexual abuse, I saw it as a thread. It was weaving through my family's life. Believe it or not, a lot of my family members won't speak up about it, but I know of stories of sexual abuse, and I'm seeing this thread that's weaving. Then the emotional abuse, I saw the thread also weaving in different areas in my life. And then the spiritual abuse, I know my mom loves the Lord. I know she does. But I grew up seeing my mom being spiritually abused in the church. She loved to go to church, and she would go to church all the time. I mean, my mom would go on these long fastings. And as a child, I grew up feeling very abandoned. And she would go on these long fastings, and I didn't understand because during those time periods, she would really disconnect herself from us, and she would go into these long prayer and fastings, and we were left pretty much alone. And I noted that, and I'm thinking, but why was it my mom? How come my mom loved God so much? But I interpreted the wrong that people were doing against her to mean that God was doing this against her. So I'm looking at all of these threads, and it's creating a thread in me. It was creating a thread of this I didn't trust. It was creating a thread where I didn't know my own identity. It created all of these, a lot of negative threads in me. And then as I got older, I started realizing, wait, I've got so much thread in my needle that I don't even know what. I couldn't see that the threads, because a quilt, how you're quilting, but you're looking at the back side of the quilt most often than none. I never paused to turn the quilt over until someone, when I was sharing my story of all of these things that I'd been through, and someone said to me, wow, but you don't look or sound like what you've been through. And I said, what do you mean? And people who have gone through the trauma that you have experienced, they're bitter, they're angry. And she said, how can you be so joyful after being raped and molested and experienced ancestry and workplace bullying? And then I had the Bell's palsy, and then I had the stroke, and I tried to commit suicide. And she said, where is the joy coming from? I want to know. And then I paused, and I realized that I need to turn the quilt of my life over and look at the design, because others were seeing it, but I was so stuck looking at the back. And when I paused to stop to think, Leonie, you survived. You survived. Life hit you. You fell to the ground. You cracked, but you survived. And that was when I started to realize that I needed to help women to get unstuck, because a lot of us are stuck between overcoming the abuse and the trauma. They're stuck right there and in between their transformation. And so I started doing the work. I started doing the work to become better, to overcome my past, to overcome the things that I have experienced, and to move forward into, developing this relationship with God, experiencing my healing, and then really, truly getting into becoming this transformed woman.
That is a very powerful story. And that is, that's all inside of the book.
Yes, I talk about it. I share my story of going through each of these, the sexual abuse, emotional abuse, the spiritual abuse, Bell's palsy, trying to commit suicide, the stroke, and I share with women the tools, the strategies, and the resources that I use to help myself to transform my life. I talk them and walk them through like this is not to tell anyone what to do. I share my lessons learned. It's like a little wisdom. It's like a girl having a girl-to-girl conversation, and the men who love us get to join the conversation as well. And I share with them and show them that you can recover. You can recreate your life and design a better next chapter.
So what would you say the overall intent and purpose for this book is?
The overall purpose of the book is to help women to recover from abuse, to help her to see that it is possible for her to recreate her life. I want her to know that she has to do the work, but that it is possible. These are undeniable examples of God's ability to free, heal, and redeem, and learn how to release those soul-crushing experiences placed upon us through the personal relationship with God. And also, again, like I said, above all, I want women to know they've got to do the work. They've got to do the work and to become the seamstress in their life's quilt as they develop wholeness. It's all about becoming whole. It's all about becoming whole so we can live the life that God intended for us to live.
That is beautiful. I love my grandmother was a seamstress, and you know, the whole idea of not seeing what you're creating. You know, you're just working away at the work, the overall work, but not actually seeing the pattern that's being built behind you. And that's it's what they call it working backwards in a way. But you know, there's what was the phrase I'm looking for? There's a method to the madness, you know, and I can definitely see your method from drawing from the madness of your life and building this foundation for people, not just women, but people in general. Like you said, this is a conversation that us men we can be involved in as well. Just to switch it up just a little bit, I do want to, you know, me personally, you know, I'm a hip hop head, but I do want to inquire what type of music did you listen to? What type of artists that inspire you, that move you, and who has your juices flowing these days?
Okay. Okay, a couple people that I really enjoy listening to. I have enjoyed the talent of Erykah Badu. I've enjoyed the talent of Queen Latifah. She's all about empowerment. I have enjoyed the talent at one point of I love Brian McKnight, of course, but he's not hip hop. But I love I used to love back in the day. I really used to love the message that Tupac was proclaiming at one point. You know, he was sharing a story that nobody wanted to hear, or we were ignorant. I think there was a lot of misconception and a lot of criticism into the way he went about doing it, but there's a message within the message. There was a thread that he was weaving, and now a lot of us can see what he was trying to say. I love how, you know, Beyonce's weaving her life through history, and she's leaving a mark on our generation, right? She's rising, and I love to see her marriage with Jay-Z. I like to see that because we don't see very many artists, you know, proclaiming or advocating for marriage, you know, sustainable marriages. So I like to see couples. I love to see couples, you know. So I'm not really heavy on it, but those are some of the people that comes to mind when I think about especially our culture as African Americans and what we've all been working on for years, to really our voices, to our truth to be told and heard, and for others to really take it seriously that we do have a place here in society, but we don't want to have to fight for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's time for the struggle. I don't believe in the struggle. You know, I don't believe it's over. It's over, and it's time for us to fall into place as soldiers, as these mighty forces to reckon with. I endeavor to see that before my time expire upon the earth, and I believe that it is slowly trending towards, seeing our African American culture rise to the next level. And I'm so pushing the next generation forward and supporting our emerging adults or millennials, supporting them, to advocate for change, to become these change makers.
I appreciate you saying those things about this new generation, because regardless of what's being played on the radio right now and what's being portrayed, that's not what is actually out there. That's just what the media, the mass media, wants you to believe. And it's sad to say it, that a lot of that music that's put out there by the mass media, it is manipulating a lot of our population, but that's not the core of us. And with that being the case, there is an underground underweaving that's being done. And I do believe that once the ball starts rolling, and it's rolling right now, it won't be stopped. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And the way I just had a conversation, and the dude that I had a conversation with, he was a white fella too, but he told me, he said the media is the one manipulating this narrative, and they're trying to entice a race war, because at the end of the day, that's not what it is. But the overlaying factor is there is something wrong, and a lot of people don't like it. And all it does is take a couple people to, I don't want to call them leaders, because, entertainers are not leaders, but some leaders turn to be entertainers, But all it does is take a couple people to spread their voice and let a couple hundred people be heard, and that's just usually what it takes. And music is that tool, and I love music for that. And Erykah Badu, Beyonce, and man, even Brian McKnight. Believe it or not, I love Brian McKnight. They all have all rich people. I love those people. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I do want to I want to let you give you time to tell the people where they can pre-order the thread.
Sure. You can visit my website, www.Leonie Mattison, and Leonie is spelled LeonieMattison.com. It will be available starting on tomorrow. As of tomorrow, they can actually go online and pre-order the book. And also, it'll be on Amazon.com, and I'm continuing to work with other platforms to get the book up and running there as well.
Awesome. That's awesome. And did you, I'm telling you, I'm going to go get a copy. I'm going to probably give it to my mom and my wife. So I get 2 copies just because my mother, I was just telling her about, like, look, I just interviewed this woman the other day, man, and she wrote a book, and she ain't not write a book. You should write a book too. I told you. Like, so do you have anything before we get out of here? Do you have any messages that you want to spread to not only just to the youth, but to the listeners as well?
Sure. Thank you for that opportunity. So, as we made mention earlier, the purpose of the book is to help women really to discover the power within themselves, to move beyond the pain of the past and live in freedom. And in the book, I do share these inspiring stories of trauma and transformation. So it's not a book where, yes, there'll be tears shed, but it's not a book to make you feel, badly about what has happened to you. It is a book to empower you, to show you that you have the power within to transform all that you've experienced and you're feeling maybe stuck in the middle of. You have the power. I will show you how to transform any challenge into transformation. And also, I've included poems and prayers and the 6-step system for living true freedom, deeper peace, and sustained happiness. And I'd like also to share with my readers this little tip, or if you want to call it a little truth. I'm going to give you a quote from the book, and then I'm going to share this. Not because others have thrown dirt on you doesn't mean you're dirty. Not because they throw it on you doesn't make you dirty. You can either use the dirt to grow yourself, you see it as a soil, right? You can see it as a soil. It's all about shifting the mind. You can see the dirt as, you know what, I'm going to use this as a soil, as a fertilizer to grow what's in me. That was what I did. I didn't resort to the anger and the animosity and all of that. No, I pulled up the joy that was in me because they were trying to use the dirt to bury the joy, right, and the happiness. So I realized that, and I took control of my life and said, none of my watch, baby. I am the author, I'm the CEO of my own life, and I'm going to take charge, and I am going to repurpose everything that I've been through to become a better woman. Final thing I'd like to share is one of my favorite quotes from the book, and it reads, being intentional about burying the memories of abuse doesn't mean the reflection of the pain is gone. All it means is that you're deliberate about trusting God to transform your pain into ordained purpose. End of quote. All of us, we were created for a purpose. And I want women to know you don't have to settle for the struggle. You don't have to settle for laying in the muck. If you can look up, get up. If it's even to sit up, just get yourself a move. If it's even to move your body, when I had the stroke, I had to learn how to move my arms. I had to learn how to move my legs, right? And I crawled. Before I could walk. But today, I'm climbing mountains. I'm doing kayaking. You go on my Facebook page. All this week, I was in Oregon. I was hiking. I was biking. I was doing kayaking. I'm doing it all now. Why? I have found freedom. And I'm going to live. And I'm not going to let anyone stop me. And that's my message to women. Get up. Get up. Get up. And live. That is one of the messages in this book amongst many. Get up and live. Get up and live.
Well, Miss Mattison, I should say Dr. Mattison, I do appreciate you coming through the show and giving us just a small fraction of who you are. And with that being the case, another fraction is within this book, the thread. And we have to go to your website, LeonieMattison.com, and we'll be able to pre-order the book and be put on that list so we can all just to see a little bit more of you, because I will say this 30 minutes wasn't enough. I don't think it can really actually contain the both of us. So I do appreciate you taking out from your busy schedule to come flex with us this morning. So thank you so very much, Dr. Mattison. And to all the listeners out there, go to the website, LeonieMattison.com, and pre-order the book. And thank you so much for taking your time out to chill here with us this morning on FRESHH Radio. This is the young man Nuke and Dr. Mattison. Signing off. You guys have a nice morning.
You too. Thank you so very much. Okay, bye-bye.